Well, I welcome talking about my wounds. I look forward to the opportunity to share my scars. I can't wait for the next time in my life where I can share the deepest pain of my life because that's what brought me the purpose to where I'm at today. Why I do this is because I know that I'm hurting, and I know that there's people all over this world who are hurting. And that's why I decided to share the most personal, intimate thing, tragic event of my lifetime with the world.
You are now tuning in to the Going North podcast with your host, best-selling author and professional speaker and member of the John Maxwell team, Dominic Dom Brightman. And every Monday and Thursday, we're going to hear the voice of a different author sharing their gifts, stories, and expertise to help you charge forward in life. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Going North podcast, we bring you some fabulous humans from across the globe who put pen to paper and publish that magical work for the world to read. Today is no different because we got another author in the house, baby, another author in the virtual house. Because today's author, my goodness, lives up in upstate New York with his wonderful wife and children. And on top of that, he's also a veteran who served in the Iraqi War and the U.S. Army. So we got a veteran in the house. This author right here is the Assistant Director of the Ontario County Youth Advocate Programs Incorporated, as well as a public motivational speaker who's been speaking at correctional facilities and coaching sports. And on top of that, the resume just keeps going on because he has a Bachelor's of Arts in Community Youth Development at Nazareth College, and he's also pursuing his Master's in Theology at Colgate Rochester Crozer Divinity School. And when he's not expanding his mind and motivating the masses and spending time with his family, he enjoys traveling, hiking with family and friends, and he's also available for speaking engagements and book signings. So let's give it up for Mr. Jack himself, J.A.C., Jesse A. Cruz. How you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Woohoo! Yes, indeed. Glad to have you on, man. Fellow brother in Christ, a veteran too, man. Thanks a bunch for your service, dude.
I appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Iraq War, so if I'm not mistaken, 5 years probably in total spent in service.
About 4 years.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for the 4 years, man. Thanks for the 4 years. Yeah, some don't even make it 4 days.
True that. That's very true.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, man. So, as with all introductions, there's still some back of the resume stuff that I always forget. So now I'm filling us in on who is the one and only Jesse Cruz.
So, I mean, just kind of going off what you said, I'm from upstate New York, married with children. I'm author and speaker and sports coach, and became a published author last year and currently working on my second book right now.
Oh, shoot. That's what I'm talking about right there. Second book, baby. That's right. Isn't it a great feeling when it's like, yeah, this book's over, I'm one and done. And then probably a few days later, hell, a few hours later, you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to do this again.
Yeah, it's definitely a great feeling for sure.
Yes, it did. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be an autobiography, especially you talking about your wonderful daughter as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Her life story.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And it's a darn good one because listen to one of your past interviews with a good buddy of mine, Justin Rambo, and definitely going to put that in the show notes. The fact that a man went through depression and heck, even still has PTSD, and folks need to learn even more about that nowadays because it's one heck of a thing to go from regular civilian life to the combat life, then having to shift back to the civilian life, especially nowadays where folks are extra soft. I mean, marshmallows are tougher than a lot of people nowadays, especially with their emotions.
Yeah, I mean, definitely being able to go from to civilian life to military life to back to civilian life. You know, I mean, everywhere I went though, I had battles to face, and I had wars to fight and challenges to overcome.
Yes, sir. So what's probably been the biggest challenge you had to overcome since joining the military and coming back?
I mean, by far, without a doubt, was when my wife and I, we had been praying to have a child, and then we were blessed with having one. She was born prematurely, and then she was in the NICU, Strong Hospital here in Rochester, New York, and watching her fight for her life every day, that was tough. That was a battle. And after 42 days, she passed away. So that was by far the hardest thing I've ever dealt with, and even to this day, and it's been years, and I still deal with it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely rough, dude. I mean, it's one thing to lose somebody, but especially a child like that, so, and only 42 days in like that, that's too rough. Well, I can imagine about the pain you and your lady had to go through, and still are going through. To be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a daily battle, you know what I mean, that I have to fight, and try to get those wounds healed, you know what I mean? And in the process, while I'm doing that, my goal is to help other people heal from theirs.
Oh, yes, indeed, yes, indeed, and it's good about that. So, for those who listening who may be in that category, in that club where they are parents and they've lost their kids, when I suppose they usually be in reverse, what any advice that you give them to help them through the grief process?
Well, I would say, first of all, seek treatment. I went to counseling, I went to group therapy, and we went as a family. My wife and I went, connecting with other people who are suffering, nursing the same wounds that we went through, help us realize we're not the only one. Because when you're in grief, you feel isolated and lonely, and no one can relate to you. And that's what grief does. And when you step out and seek healing, healing is gonna happen. Maybe not right away, overnight, maybe not 1 month, 1 year, or 10 years, but eventually it will. It doesn't mean that you forget about that person and stop loving that person, because you're always gonna hurt. But you learn how to manage the hurt more effectively because you've surrounded yourself with a group of people who want to see you win at life, and they want to see you heal as well. And that's why we all need to do this together, because every one of us is hurt from something.
So darn true about the grief. It's like, hey, it's like you're gonna hurt, might as well hurt in this case with other people as opposed to trying to hold it all in and bear it on your own, because that'll just weigh you down after a while.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. My man's staying light by taking his pain and using it for power to publish the works to live your dash. The 8 F's to freedom, the 8 F's to freedom. So my man is in school right now, going for his Master's of Divinity. So my man's got plans to be a pastor one day, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, well, right now I've taken a break because I want to focus on the writing. You know what I mean? Because I feel this writing is going to be able to impact people all over the world. And right now it has, different countries and different parts of the United States. And, God has just called me to write, and I'm just going to be obedient and do it. And I know that I can live with the results because I'm doing it God's way, no matter what happens.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So for those Christians out there who still like to try to do it their way and end up burnt out and possibly burnt in the process, any advice for them to lean in more, I guess, in a way with the faith dash, in a way to actually trust in God more?
Well, I would say that, I mean, I'll just speak from my experiences that I've tried everything without God. I've tried to do everything that I thought would give me fulfillment and happiness and seeking those pleasures, but they were all temporary, and it's only when I put my faith in God is that, not to say that the pain goes away or the stressful days stop existing. It's that when you put your faith in God, that you can have peace and joy while being in war, while being in a time of chaos, that you can still have some peace. So any time I've ever spent with God has never been a moment wasted. It's been the greatest time invested. So any time spent building your faith, it will be a time of greatness, because even if you don't get the result that you desired or that circumstance didn't change, God will change your heart in that circumstance.
Amen to that. Amen to that too, man. Because it's so true that folks need to try to do that more often. But hey, I mean, dealing with it every day and from your experience, it's like it's something you had to learn because you tried everything else and you've experienced things that no other human, at least not a massive amount of humans, have actually experienced. So it's definitely great to get your perspective on that one, man. Definitely great to get your perspective on that. And what I also love about your inspiring story is that you actually classified in with like a learning disability, especially with low grades in English and writing. But what makes it even funny is that you're actually an author now, man. So how does that feel?
I mean, it feels great, yeah, especially like things like English. I have a learning disability. I have a big challenge in comprehension and reading and things like that, and understanding what I'm reading. And so the fact that the God to use my disability to help other people, it's just amazing how he works. He works differently than how we think it's supposed to work. So I'm just thankful for the opportunity to maybe help some other people who may have some learning disabilities and challenges to think that they can't do things that they dream of doing. And let you know it's possible when you keep the faith.
That's right. Got to keep the faith, indeed. Got to keep the faith, indeed. And it it's so funny how like all these folks who get classified as special needs or in a special ed class, and they end up publishing these great books. I mean, we got you, we got Les Brown, heck, even a guy with the name of Daniel Alley. He's actually was told before that he wasn't a good writer at all, and heck, even myself, English wasn't even my strongest class either. And I almost failed a public speaking class, and I got books out too. So it's funny how in the traditional school setting how they try to put you in this box, but as you grow older and able to get out of that area, you're actually able to burn that box and actually grow from it and actually prove them wrong.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir, man. So when you're on this magical interview tour, man, is there a question you wish you'd be asked more often by podcast/radio hosts when you're being interviewed?
Maybe why have I decided to write about the worst thing that ever happened in my life? That's probably one.
Ah, okay. All right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So why? Why is that about the worst stuff?
Because and I think the reason why I say that I want that question is because I feel like people are afraid to ask it because it's such a sensitive subject, um, and they don't want to, maybe bring up old feelings or past traumas, be sensitive to me. But I'm just at the place in my life now where I welcome talking about my wounds. I look forward to the opportunity to share my scars. I can't wait for the next time in my life where I can share the deepest pain of my life, because that's what brought me the purpose to where I'm at today. And why I do this is because I know that I'm hurting, and I know that there's people all over this world who are hurting. And that's why I decided to share the most personal, intimate thing, tragic event of my lifetime with the world, because I know I'm not the only one suffering. And I want to spread hope to the hurting. That's what I want to do. And when you have hope, the healing can happen. And so my goal is with this book and sharing it with the next one is that you can overcome the worst tragedy of your life, whether that's getting a divorce, whether that's going to war, whether that's having a learning disability, or having your child die in your arms. You can overcome, and you can use it for good. Not to say that what happens is good, but you can use it to help other people.
Amen, dude. Amen, indeed. Amen, indeed. Must be that strength from Christ too that really gives you that power to really go out there and share your message with folks because you're so right, man.
Without him, I couldn't do it at all. I would have gave up on life without him.
Yes, sir, indeed. Yes, sir, indeed. Because folks are hurting, man. It's so true. It's like even before and after the darn pandemic, like people have been hurting regardless, and it's so true that folks are going to be needing that help out there. And like even funny enough, people actually been turning more over to the faith side of life and actually trying to explore the faith side and actually try to convert themselves over to Christ and some by other means. But that's a whole other area, all because of this pandemic. And it's going to be a real telltale sign. Is like, hey, after all this is over, is like, hey, are you going to be able to keep going past this and realizing that, hey, it may not be as bad as the media portrays it to be, and that there may be times in your life where it's like, hey, you're going to need this peace that surpasses all understanding, even more so in the future than now. Because I'm pretty sure that you've probably dealt with so much even since you became a Christian and realizing that, hey, this whole Christian faith walk, it's not a walk in the park. It's not like a easy bake oven cake.
Definitely, you're right about that.
And I got to commend you for having the strength to be able to share your courage and your stories, man. Because when I listened to your interview with Justin and I heard that when you came back and to America after the whole Iraqi war and there's no one to greet you, I was just putting my head down in disgust and was disappointed. I felt sad for you, man, because that's got to be a rough feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible feeling, you know what I mean? Because I'm coming back, and, you know, that's that spot when we're down in Fort Hood, Texas. You come back from being in Iraq, and, you know, those are the moments you look forward to. You know what I mean? Your family's there, your wife, your kids, parents, brother, sister, family, friends, whoever. You know what I mean? You just want to know that you were loved, that you were missed, and you were cared for, and welcome home. We're proud of you. You know what I mean? And all my buddies had that, except for me. So when I came back, the field was empty. And I feel like that empty spot on the field represents the emptiness in my heart in that moment. And at that moment, I just kind of reached an all-time low. Just felt like worthless to the world. Like I didn't matter. Like there was no meaning for me to be here. But that moment was preparing me for the headaches and the heartaches and the trials and tribulations I'd be facing in the future. You know what I mean? So I'm not mad that that happened. I'm thankful for it.
There you go, man. Just be thankful for it. Indeed. You know, it's terrible at the moment. It's like you can look back now. It's like, oh man, like, dude, I got freaking 8-pack abs now, and dealing with adversity now because of that situation. It's like probably had a 6-pack before, but now it's like, yeah, man, a 2 extra little abs now, man, to make an 8-pack, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Be like, yeah, man, look at myself on the post to be like, yeah, that's right. Who's that good, Jesse? It's me. That's right. The one been saved by amazing grace that's still helping the world become better and not better. So for those out there who want to jump into your magical book with these 8 F's of freedom, with this nicely sized book, man, like, dude, what inspired the 8 F's, man? Because I'm looking through the chapter titles, I'm like, dude, I like this, man. I thought this was going to be like a little shorter than usual, but nah, it's like it's really full of great content, man.
Well, I mean, what inspired it, obviously, you know, was my daughter's life, you know, and after she passed away, I opened up a notebook every morning, and I would write until I cried, and I did that every day for 2 months straight. So I would just write and write, and as I was writing, I was just trying to get my feelings out. I was just trying to make sense of life. You know, I mean, I feel like almost like a new person. A new person was coming from the writing because I could no longer be the same anymore after what I just experienced. And so as I was writing and my perspectives were different and changed, and I learned a lot through her life. And all of a sudden I saw a theme develop, and I said, oh, there's certain areas in my life that I know when I'm intentional about them, that I'm on my path and purpose to life, you know what I mean? And those 8 F's, you know, I shared, you know, obviously I started with family and friendship and faith, finances and things like that. Those are some of them. And I was writing about those things, and I expanded it to 8. I actually expanded it to 9. And then I got rid of one because I wanted to condense it, you know, and brought it back down to 8. And I just noticed in those 8 areas of my life that every single person on earth can relate to these 8 areas because we all experience them on a daily basis. And when you're intentional about growing and developing those 8 areas, that you can live a purposeful life.
Amen to that, dude. Amen to that, dude. That's right. Turn that pain into a paycheck. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, yes, sir. Definitely got to pick up those 8 F's, man. Because I'm like, okay, that's focus. That's good. And then I got to the finance and then the faith. And okay, all right, my man's doing it now. So my man's doing it now. So the final F, is that one gonna be like mentioned in the future, or is that gonna be like for like the 5 or 10 year anniversary of the book? Or
I don't know yet. I took it out, but we'll see. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe if I revise it and expand it in the future, I might put it in there. But haven't been determined yet.
sweet, was the ninth F the feeding dash?
The ninth F is future,
Ooh.
which most people don't realize. Don't act the future dash. It doesn't really. For the people who don't know what the dash is, I just want to comment the dash is from the time you're born to the time you pass away, the dash in the middle. That's what it's about. What you do with the time that you've been given. Our time is limited. We don't know when our last day is coming, so you need to live that dash effectively, appropriately, and purposefully. And when you focus on those 8 areas of your life, that would be a dash well lived, a legacy to carry on and pass on to your children and grandchildren. And so that's why it's just so important to pursue those 8 F's intentionally. And with the future, well, the part that didn't come in the book, I think a lot of times people think the future actually happens tomorrow. The future happens in a week or a month or a year or 10 years from now. But the future actually starts this exact moment, because this exact moment that you're in is actually building on the next, which builds on tomorrow. So your future is really right now.
Oh, yes indeed, yes indeed. That's that mixtape fire right there. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. The man's got the album out, the book, man, but there's like, yeah, man, there's a secret mixtape out that the true fans need to find, man. That future dash, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, dude. And like, dude, you were so right about that. And heck, that needs to be like a blog article or something because it's so true. Your future actually does start today because that's where your future lies. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, gonna be a millionaire, all this other good stuff. But it's like it starts today with your daily habits, what you do every day, especially right now, and the decisions you make, what you feed your mind, and all that good stuff. So yeah, man, it's so true. And heck, even I love the fact that that's actually powerful right there. It's like future dash. It's like, all right, so what are you gonna do with the extra time on your dash before it's burial time? It's like you got, Lord willing, a lot more time. So this dash in a way is a future dash of what you're gonna become. So what are you doing to make sure you become the person, or at least the best person that you want to become?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just, I don't know. I'm just thinking about this, but like anytime, just to make a comment again about the future thing is, to get to reach those goals. I mean, that doesn't start later on. It's like you said, it's a daily habit practice. You know what I mean? It's a daily decision. You know what I mean? You don't become the greatest at anything overnight. You don't become an inspiring individual overnight. That's daily, consistent discipline and habits formed over a long period of time will get you to the place that you want to be in the future.
It's indeed on the daily. That's what I'm saying. Right there. So coming down to the question that every guest gets to receive, and that is, if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2020, with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would focus on the importance of gratitude. It's changed my life. Thanking God, thanking my wife, my children, people close to me. I've noticed in my life, anytime I'm being grateful, and thanking individuals and thanking other people, that's when I have probably the most joy. It's because I'm giving something to someone else. I'm giving them encouragement. I'm giving something away, a piece of myself, a word to help someone in need. So for me, it's just expressing that kind of gratitude is what changes your entire outlook. So that's what it's done for me. And I have moments still that I struggle with it. So when I forget to remain thankful and express that gratitude, I'm more likely to get into a funk, or I'm more likely to fall into a depression. I'd be more stressed, because you cannot be grateful and depressed at the same exact time. You can't be thankful and stressed out together. They're opposites of each other. So for me, it's to practice the daily attitude of gratitude.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That attitude of gratitude, folks. My man is preaching it. Be sure to head to my man's offer plate in the show notes and buy 5,000 copies of Wicked Dash. Just saying. Can't afford 5,000. Go with 10,000 copies. It'll be great. Yeah, man. So true. That is so true. I've actually never heard it said that way, and it's so darn true, because if you're depressed and you can find a way to be grateful about something, you'll eventually, in that moment, focus on something better. But if you're grateful, but you're getting into the point where you're thinking about the things that went wrong and you get into that depression state, you can't really stay in that gratitude space. So definitely love that, man. Definitely love that indeed. And for the folks who want to continue to love what you do and live their true dash and get these magical 8 F's of freedom, what's the best way for folks to snag the book and reach out to you and learn more about you?
So people can find the book online on Amazon.com, or BarnesandNoble.com, or through my publisher, PennantPublications.com. A lot of people who actually order from me also order directly from me. So I can be contacted on Facebook, Jesse Cruz, or Jesse A. Cruz is the business page, or on Instagram, author Jesse Cruz, or on my email, authorjessecruz@gmail.com. Those are all the best ways to get a hold of me.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about right there. Keep on the lookout for book number 2 from man Jesse. Pick up book number 1. It's got some good stuff in it. It's got some good stuff in it indeed. Well organized and bite size for your dome. I'm telling you, it's the tome for your dome. Tome for your dome. So any parting words to the folks still listening, man?
Yeah, I would just say kind of what I said earlier, is that no matter what you've gone through, no matter if you've been divorced, depressed, stressed, you're grieving the loss of someone, loss of a job, a relationship, a situation, or a dream, whatever the case may be, you're not too far gone. Your pain and your tragedy, your greatest mistake, your foolish decision cannot be stronger than the love of God. And He's the one that can save you from anything that you've ever gone through, no matter how terrible it may seem. If you just have the boldness and courage to give Him an opportunity to lead you, it'll be the greatest decision of your life.
Thanks a bunch for your listening ears on the Going North podcast. I hope you really, really enjoyed that episode. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family, especially those who love podcasts and love listening to some inspiration and motivation.